For the second time in as many weeks, you have a big budget superhero film put out pre-sales for early tickets and ending up crashing websites. Well, it's not quite as dramatic as they would like for you to believe, okay? For as much as it was very skeptical when it came to the Fantastic Four, as reported by Fandango, the best, or rather, biggest pre-sale movie that we've had this entire year. And then you look at the receipts of what has come out this year, and it's like, no, that could potentially check out. And then you had these uncorroborated events where other people, the site was breaking due to just so much demand, and then people have been posting their different screenshots from their different locations, their different theaters, and it's like, oh really, like a dozen tickets at that theater, that's what caused site to break. It's like, oh, there's got to be something else to that. Like, I don't doubt, okay, like I'm one of the people who are actually gonna say that, yeah, the Fantastic Four last week when they came out and they said that, yeah, okay, that's the biggest pre-sale that they've had for 2025. I totally believe it, because the other big hitters so far this year have all been predicated on word of mouth and walk-up business. So yeah, totally makes sense. And the superhero films more or less cater to a different audience, so everything all lines up there. It's just wait until the other movies, okay? Wait until the bigger movies come out this year. And pre-sales very rarely track appropriately to how the box office performs in general. Whether or not something's going to have staying power, we don't know. All that just goes to show you is that some of the marketing is working on some amount of people, but without having, real comparable numbers out there. How do we even know how big of a success the best performing pre-sale movie of the year is? But here we are again, okay? But this time around, it's Superman. With the Superman tickets at crash websites. Yeah, and here's the fix, okay? It's something that if you've been on the internet for a while now, okay, and you've been shopping for a different web browser, you probably already know exactly what's going on, but you're probably also thinking, it's like, what does this have to do with anything? But yeah, interestingly enough, the Superman tickets went on sale earlier today for those, Amazon Prime subscribers, which, okay, when I heard that caveat on there, it's like, that doesn't make... I've been trying to piece this one together, okay, like Charlie Day, Red Yarn, schizophrenic, dot connecting style. It's like, okay, Superman is a Warner Brothers joint, but okay, if you're going to be putting on early pre-sale tickets for certain theaters, is that something that you're doing with a specific chain? It's like, well, that doesn't make sense if you want to involve Amazon, who have a vested interest in their own entertainment wing. So why are they doing this? That one doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, but yes, Tuesday, July 8th, that's when the early tickets that you can buy for the early screening. Makes sense? Yeah, sure. But you have to run into trouble. Yes, it seems to be a website may have crashed. So what happened? Yeah, for the article's author and many other people also checking out early access tickets, yeah, you just had to hop off of Google Chrome, which has been a trash browser for, the better part of, for a couple years at this point. Now, I've switched over to Brave, and that's what I use whenever I'm recording, and have for, I think, like a year at this point in time. And hey, man, I really like it. I think that it is the best browser that is out there. Somebody who has used Firefox in the past, switched over to Chrome after Firefox, decided to turn itself into a lesser service. I've never tried Opera or any of the other browsers that are out there. But yeah, Brave is quite good. And studios trying to use Google Chrome being a trash browser as a means to drum up enthusiasm for their project. I mean, it's pretty desperate, and it's kind of interesting. But wider pre-sales for Superman are going to be going live, I think, later this week, or maybe even by the time that you guys see this video. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, but there are some early projections that are out there, and we'll go over those in due time, of course, because I'll be interested to see. Like, I want this movie to be good. I really do. Okay, I've been rooting for the movie to be good, but then at the same time, I've also been couching this in my own reservations that other people have also pointed out. I don't want anybody to, to think that I'm naive enough to come to the same conclusion, but the people working on this project, and the way that they're taking center stage, I don't really like it. And it's kind of like the newest Mission Impossible movie, which I've heard across the board is absolute trash. It's still doing decently at the theaters. It's nowhere near coming close to recouping any of its budgetary concerns. So yeah, it's ultimately going to flop. It's going to perform better than Dead Reckoning did. So Final Reckoning is better, I guess, because it's no longer part 2. But I digress. I don't want to support bad movies, but I like what Tom Cruise is doing in the promotion of the movie itself, because he's the star. He's out there being very complimentary to the audience, shaking hands, kissing babies, making the rounds. I really like what he's doing, help everybody out that worked on the project. I think that that's a great precedent to set for the wider industry, and the more people that do it, the better off I think entertainment would be in general. Then you got Superman out here, which, yeah, every time that I see David Corenswet or Rachel Brosnahan or even Nicholas Hoult, a bunch of the different people that are working on and starring in this film, I like the people that are in it. Now, when it comes to the other people behind the scenes that just got wrapped up in this big old expose looking at the stars of the upcoming Superman, I mean, it's getting pretty cringe. Okay, and now this is a fairly lengthy tome, and I did some glossing over it, and there's a lot of glossing, that's to be sure, in the article, but I just want to go over a couple of bullet points, because this lays out the future of the DCEU, which looks like, outside of just, a cataclysmic drop-off, is going to be somewhat of a success. Now, is it going to have the legs to break $1 billion? We'll have to see. Okay, that first week drop-off is going to be very telling, but yes, the early projections that we've gone over before, it's shaping up to be the biggest superhero movie of the year, which isn't really saying all that much, but also could potentially be a top 3, if not top 5 best performing film of the year. I just hope it has the bona fides to back all of that up. But yeah, just take a look at this headline and then the sub-headline as well, and it's like, yeah, this is where things start to go off the rails, specifically for me. Okay, Superman lights the way. Now, how Hollywood's a new Man of Steel shepherds the DC universe of tomorrow. Okay, yep, that's not bad. Okay, you want to highlight the Superman film. Entertainment Weekly wants to do an expose on that. That's totally fine. 10 of DC's superstars, including director James Gunn. What's the first name that pops up? Seriously, not David Corenswet, not Clark Kent, not Lois Lane, not Lex Luthor, James motherfucking Gunn. Oh my god. Stars Rachel Brosnahan and Nicholas Hoult and Clark Kent himself, David Corenswet. And it's like, okay, cool. If you're going to save Superman for the last, I understand. But god damn it, man. Kicking everything off with James motherfucking Gunn. Seriously. Yeah, man, they did this Entertainment Weekly photo shoot as well, and honestly, in his costume, I know a lot of people have picked apart the costume, and, I'm not a big fan of it. I think the color looks a little bit silly, and honestly, it finally came to me. It looks like he's wearing a gi, and he's getting ready to go down and roll on the mats and practice some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's what it's coming off as to me, but ultimately, like, if the writing and the character work is good, I can definitely overlook costume that is, in my lifetime, one of the lower rung Superman costumes that are there for sure. It's definitely never going to get close to the top. And Corenswet's really going to have to overcome those accusations. And then there's a couple of pictures and a couple of little movies that we have in there, I guess GIFs or whatever, some promotional images that it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough for him to shake that discount Henry Cavill moniker, but it really hit me alongside that, rash guard comparison when I was looking at this stuff. But yes, Entertainment Weekly is making the comparisons that, he's looking a lot like Henry Cavill. And it's easy to see why, with merely a thin layer of finely shaped scruff along the, okay, this is some really gay stuff, but okay, yes. So yeah, looking a lot like Henry Cavill. Entertainment Weekly cover shoot for the East End Studios in Glendale, California. The 6'4" Corenswet certainly looks the part in the electric blue suit. Towers over Kirsten Shaw, the groomer tasked with curl duty. What the hell are we doing out here? I got a lot of physical comparisons to Tom Welling, who played Superman, and Clark Kent on Smallville. Okay. When I was growing up, he was a Superman who was on TV every week. I think to one extent or another, all of the Superman actors, there's some Venn diagram of our physical characteristics. Well, yeah, of course. Square jawline, broad shoulders, and a steely stare. Hell, even Brandon Routh pulled that off well, even though he was probably the weakest interpretation of the Superman that I've seen. He very much fits in there, so he's got that for sure. And then they bring up, of course, Christopher Reeve, which, I didn't grow up with that. That was a few years before my time, but still, he cast a larger-than-life image, and it even serves as the gold standard for Superman to this very day. However, yes, is the likeness that most comes to mind, in particular, Beaming Afternoon, yes, and the last Saturday in March, oh my god, yes. Rachel Brosnahan is 5'3", so yeah, okay, so you got like a foot difference, and it's like, yeah, That's not bad, okay? As somebody who is 6'6" and who is, without getting into too many different exploits, that's not exactly a height difference that I'm unfamiliar with. It makes certain things a lot more easy access, but, you know, I digress. We don't need to get too graphic in these videos, but talking them up, and whenever I see them in interviews, they seem to have pretty decent chemistry, so the Clark and Lois relationship in the movie should be pretty good. Hopefully we can just get past that whole 10-minute interview segment that is, midway through the movie, but Gunn, oh, Jesus Christ. The film's writer-director and the co-head of DC Studios prefers the sound of rock band Foxy Shazam. What the hell are we doing out here, man? Talking about music instead of Superman, but yeah, okay, we're setting the tone for this fairly lengthy interview, right? But then we start to get into all of the promotional material and so forth. Like, Entertainment Weekly has been doing these moving covers, and, you know, hey, you got Lois in the phone booth, and then you got Zachary Levi, or, yeah, there you got the brand new Henry Cavill. Okay, it's either Zachary Levi or John Krasinski that he's crossed with. Okay, that's what immediately hit me there. And then, of course, who else is right there? James motherfucking... Seriously, bro. This is Superman and Lois. Where's Lex Luthor? Okay, where's Jimmy Olsen? Okay, where's one of the other 50 fucking metahumans that you're gonna have just in there? But yes, Heroes Calling, James Gunn and the Superman cast. Are you having a fucking laugh, bro? What are we doing? But yeah, man, in the phone booth... Okay, Superman with some scruff, that's a little bit weird, and that's definitely going to infuriate the purists, and honestly, from just like a little bitchy side to things, you know, Rachel, I don't know about your dress, well, like, what's with all the goofy ass zippers, like, oh my god. But whatever, this is just, it's a photo shoot, okay, and, you know, Entertainment Weekly does this cringe shit all the time, so I'm not going to necessarily hold that against them, but Warner Brothers, this is where stuff gets interesting, because I didn't quite know this, or maybe I did, but it just slipped my memory, but Warner Brothers initially offered Gunn, because this is what it's all about, right, like, this is, you know, Superman's James Gunn, after all, offered Gunn Superman prior to directing 2021's The Suicide Squad. So, okay, before they had officially turfed Zack Snyder, and before the whole Snyder Cut thing finally got out the door, Warner Brothers was already eyeing up James Gunn. That's interesting, because was he, at that point in time, God, I really got to get my timeline right on this one, was he still in exile after getting, you know, temporarily canceled off of Marvel? Because it's so funny, the cascade of these events, because, okay, from a couple of interesting old tweets from back in the cut, he ended up getting canceled, even though he was supposed to be heading up, which this could be also an interesting timeline, because I think this is far more his speed, and it would have worked out better for everybody involved. But he was supposed to head up the cosmic side of Marvel. Okay, so your Guardians of the Galaxy, your, you know, Captain Marvel, your Marvels, all of that stuff, all of the interplanetary goofy stuff, and who knows if James Gunn was still over there at Marvel, who else he would have brought in if we would have had a proper standalone and a Morlock movie. And because of his past, would he have also tried to integrate in some of the more horror-y aspects? Like, would we actually have a proper Ghost Rider in the MCU? Who knows, man? But due to that opening in his schedule and getting, you know, kicked down the road by Marvel there, DC comes in and scoops him up. He ends up making the Suicide Squad, and then, of course, the rest is history. But that's interesting. I didn't know that DC had the offer on the table for Superman prior to him doing Suicide Squad. Okay, so even then, before plans were firmly in place, the studio wanted a new actor to play Superman after Cavill. Ooh, that I gotta press X to doubt on, because I recall a lot of the headlines and a lot of the scuttle at that point in time. Cavill was very much convinced, and a lot of the trades were that he was going to be staying on, so interesting. Okay, so it was even more messy than it is now, Gunn says, but more importantly, he adds, I didn't have the special idea of what the film would be. He does now. So over the years, the stories that I've told have gotten more, how to say, less in your face. Really? Well, they've also become, you know, quite a bit less inspired and just more or less running back the same themes and same story over and over again. But yeah, Slither in 2006. I remember that one. Having a huge marketing campaign for whatever reason. I remember that, I think, what was it? A chick laying in a bathtub with blood and a whole bunch of snakes over her. That sticks in my mind for very obvious, shocking reasons. But yes, a dark vision of Unmasked Heroes with Super, yeah, whatever. And then joining Marvel for Guardians of the Galaxy movies. That progressively got worse with every installment. But yeah, man, throughout the rest of this interview piece, I think that this picture right here sums everything up everything perfectly. Who exactly is front and center? Who's once again pushed off to the side? The DCU's freshman class, James Gunn and his friends. But to summarize the other highlights that are in this article, well, James Gunn is already writing a follow-up to Superman, which is interesting because we ultimately don't know how this is going to perform at the box office, which is, of course, going to dictate the future of the DCU. And then also, on top of that, the next film to theoretically come out of the DCU is Supergirl, which is already or has just wrapped filming. But yeah, remember, James Gunn wanted a clean break from everything that was going on during a very messy time at the tail end of the Snyderverse reboot pre-James Gunn era at Warner Brothers. But now he's going to be running back Lobo with Jason Momoa, the former Aquaman, without him properly casting an Aquaman first. It's interesting. But yes, so I guess we're going to be really front-loading the DCU with Superman, which for me, I'm not totally against. Okay, I really like Superman. There's a lot of stuff that he hasn't been able to do because of subpar writers in recent years with people's different takes on him. Okay, I don't think that he's a boring character. Everybody just necessarily thinks that Batman and Bruce Wayne are far more interesting because, oh my god, my darkness. And that's also not to say that I don't like Batman at all whatsoever, okay? I really do like him. Here's the thing, you can like both things just equally as much, okay? And the fact that DC has scuttled their opportunities during the superhero boom is just so unfathomably idiotic, but the stories that you can tell with Batman are totally different than the stories that you can tell with Superman. So even though they are inexorably linked, thanks to the way that DC was set up all the way back in the cut, they're two very different, very distinct superheroes, and there's different stories that you can tell. Batman and Bruce Wayne are obviously the maximization of what you can get out of the peak human being. And with Superman and Clark Kent, the stories that you can tell about an uninhibited man, unshackled by any physical constraints. Like, they're both different mediums to explore different stories, and I like them both equally for that. Moving along anyways, but superheroes have existed for 300 years. It's like, okay, so you said that, yeah, okay, this, the Superman film, it was going to be dropping everything right into the middle, so don't have to worry about an origin story, but, you know, superheroes have existed for 300 years. Okay, I don't know which way to go on that, but okay, that's just a piece of information, okay? There's no Justice League yet, but there is a Justice Gang, because you got Hawkgirl, you got Guy Gardner, you got Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, you got a whole bunch of people that are in this film, but it's not a team-up movie, right? Post-credit scenes won't tease future projects unless it really works. Learn from his Marvel mistakes. Right. Even though, what was it, in a post-credit sequence, you set up the Infinity Stones and its importance and it tipped off the coming of Thanos. Okay, interesting. But asked if Ultraman is Lex Luthor's version of Superman. Yeah, the penultimate bad guy in the film. Well, at least the one that gets his comeuppance, because you can't really defeat Lex Luthor. Thank God that they're not just gonna, chuck and fuck Lex. So the same way that Marvel is gonna do Galactus. God, that pisses me off tremendously, but I digress. But yeah, Ultraman is gonna be in there. Bad Superman. Okay, cool. I guess we're running back the tropes from all the way back in the day. Oh, what's the bad guy at the end of the superhero film? Oh, it's like the superhero, just the bad version. Like, okay. And then finally, yes, one of the big bombshells out of this is that, yes, a Wonder Woman film is being written right now. So yes, that's what we can move on to, with James Gunn confirming that a Wonder Woman, yes, is in the works for DCU. I mean, yeah, okay, can we get word on who is going to be playing Diana Prince? And then also, what about the other important part of DC's Holy Trinity? Okay, and any word about Batman? Stay tuned. James Gunn has confirmed that Wonder Woman is officially in development for DC. And no, it's not that stupid, oh my god, Game of Thrones on Themyscira TV show. Jesus Christ, fucking gag me. A series which is now in development. New interview with EW Entertainment Weekly. Yeah, the one that we were looking at. Gunn revealed that the standalone Wonder Woman project is currently being written, while details are still under wraps. Gunn made it clear that Diana in Themyscira will play a major role in the future of the DC universe. I just hope they get it right, because Wonder Woman is, like, really cool, and there's a lot of potential there as well. I just really hope that you hire somebody that has a little bit more acting range than Gal Gadot. Nothing against her, I'm sure she's a wonderful lady. It's just, she's one of the worst actresses ever. But another big takeaway, yeah, regarding said Bruce Wayne, is that pesky Batman 2 that James Gunn just can't shake out of Matt Reeves, okay? Don't worry, guys, we have a completed script. No, wait, he's still working on the script. Oh, we're totally going to be going into production at the end of 26. Oh, wait, no, it's going to be 2027 before you see anything. Oh, no, wait, actually, we don't have a script done quite yet. But hey, Robert Pattinson is still Batman. James Gunn says that the script is coming soon. Sure it is, pal. So's Christmas. James Gunn wants fans to know that Robert Pattinson isn't going anywhere. Not that Matt Reeves is still on board, and his vision for the Batman franchise is a top priority. Yeah, it's so funny, right? In that same interview, he was also throwing around ideas about World's Finest, and it's like, okay, cool. We know, James, that you want your own take on Batman, which is totally fair. If you're going to be running DC, I mean, you're going to want to have access to Superman, and you're going to want to have access to fucking Batman. So yeah, I understand why you're a little bit testy when it comes to Matt Reeves' vision. But he made it clear that Pattinson remains firmly in the place in the Batman in a Matt Reeves corner of the DC universe. Robert Pattinson is still there. Thanks, Jimmy. Despite numerous delays and even rumors that the film could be canceled or that Reeves is exiting, both Reeves and Pattinson are still set to return for Batman Part 2. Reeves is currently wrapping up the script, with Gunn revealing what Matt's doing is really important, despite all the stories to the contrary. Oh, we're supposed to see that script shortly. I can't wait. Yeah, I don't know if that's a new quote or if that's something that he said back in 2023. Or 2024, or earlier this year. I legitimately don't know, because I don't believe a word that comes out of James Gunn's mouth, because at this point in time, he has done two catastrophic things in regards to the Superman promotion. Number one, made it all about himself, and number two, lied about everything he has had the opportunity to obfuscate on. Simply put, if he does not deliver with the Superman film, it is a fucking done deal. And what do I mean by that? Well, the DCU is totally done, because you're doubling down on Superman, which could potentially be a flop, with Supergirl, which is already going to make a fraction of what Superman does. So good job on that one. You're really doubling down and hoping that it's going to be a success. And then also, if Superman comes out into the theaters and makes $400-500 million, that's going to be the end of James Gunn. He's going to be joining J.J. Abrams and his predecessor and Zack Snyder in director's jail. So he needs this to be a hit. Otherwise, the calls from Matt Reeves' script are going to really start getting loud. And also the incessant nagging from the Snyder Bros. Oh, it was already going to be bad. Just imagine if this thing flops. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Coswell. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.